For the past many days, the streets of Pakistan have been echoing with a pain that no one expected. New traffic rules came like a storm, and with them came an unexpected wave of fear, confusion, and helplessness. FIRs were registered against school and college students, children who left their homes every morning with books in their bags and dreams in their eyes. No one ever imagined that these innocent faces would suddenly be pushed into a world reserved for criminals. Today was the day when the children who had been granted bail finally had their handcuffs removed. But freedom did not feel like freedom. After the cuffs came off, the police silently guided them to the CRO room. A room where the identities of criminals are documented. A room where stories of guilt and crime sleep in files. A place where no child should ever stand. Inside that room, the air felt heavy, as if it had soaked in the sorrow of thousands of accused people over the years. The children stood there quietly, their tiny hands trembling. Those soft fingers, the same fingers that were meant to hold pencils and turn the gentle pages of their books, were now being pressed harshly against ink pads and scanners. Today, those very fingers left their marks in a database that holds the records of the worst offenders. Every line of their palm, every swirl of their fingerprint, became a permanent entry in a system that does not know how to distinguish innocence from guilt. Their prints were stored in the same box where murderers, robbers, pickpockets, and drug dealers have had their identities sealed for decades. Then came the camera. A camera that has seen more hardened faces than soft ones. A lens that has captured anger, regret, cruelty, and desperation. But it has not learned how to recognize innocence. It has no filter to differentiate a frightened child from a seasoned criminal. One after another, the children's faces appeared in front of it. Their eyes were full of fear, their lips trembling, their hearts thumping so loudly they could hear their own chest shake. The flash of the camera felt like a slap, a reminder that the world was not standing with them today. Their pictures were taken, their fingerprints saved, and a criminal record, a stain they never deserved, silently attached itself to their names outside. When they were finally allowed to walk home, their steps felt smaller than usual. Their legs were weak, as if carrying the weight of something too heavy for their age. They looked around with uncomfortable eyes, glancing at every passing face, trying to read the judgment hidden in people's expressions. They looked at uncles, at elders, at strangers, with eyes that asked a silent question. Do you also consider us criminals? Do you think we meant to break the law? Did you believe we deserved handcuffs? Did you think we should stand in a line where drug dealers and robbers stand? These children, who once ran freely on streets, now walked with hesitation. Their confidence was shattered. Their young minds were confused, unable to understand how a small mistake turned into trauma. In those 24 hours of arrest, waiting, fear, and humiliation, something inside them broke. Something that might never completely heal. Their eyes had seen what no child should ever see. Their little hearts had heard the clang of handcuffs, the stern voices of police officials, the cold silence of detention rooms. These memories will live inside them long after today. These hours will return in their dreams. They will remember how their parents cried, how they themselves tried to be brave but couldn't stop their tears. They will remember the smell of the police station, the harsh walls, the heavy chains, and the feeling that they were suddenly alone in a world too big and too cruel. This single document, is like a wound written on the paper of justice. It is the first punishment of their life, a punishment they never earned. They never intended to harm anyone. They never meant to violate a rule. They were simply children living their everyday lives. Yet today, the system treated them as if they were criminals. Their names, once clean and bright, now carry a question mark, a shadow that should never have been placed there. They will grow older, but this scar will grow with them. When they sit alone, they will wonder why the world saw them as wrongdoers. When they read their own names, they will remember the file where their fingerprints rest beside criminals. When they walk past a police van, their hearts will beat faster, not because they are guilty, but because they have already tasted the fear of injustice. Pakistan's future is carried in the hands of these children. These are the same children who dream of becoming doctors, engineers, teachers, scientists, and leaders. But today, instead of learning in classrooms, they were learning how the justice system treats the innocent. They learned how quickly trust can break. They learned how easily society can judge. They learned how hard it is to prove innocence when the world has already decided to call you guilty. And yet, amid all this pain, there was no apology, no compassion, no reassurance. The children stood silently while the world moved on as if nothing happened. But something did happen. A piece of their childhood was taken away. A part of their innocence was stolen. Their minds were forced to grow too fast. Their hearts were forced to understand the harshness of society too early. Honorable sir. Those who create rules. Those who sign orders from comfortable rooms. Those who sit behind desks and decide the fate of thousands. May your fortune remain high. May you keep doing whatever you think is right. You have the authority, the power, the control. You have the privilege to reshape systems with the stroke of your pen. But remember one thing. The decisions you make do not fall on paper alone, they fall on hearts, on homes, on dreams, on futures. And sometimes, they fall on children who are too young to carry the weight of your laws. Today, these children returned home with eyes that had lost their shine. Their parents hugged them tightly, trying to hide their own trembling. Their mothers wiped their tears using the edge of their dupattas, trying to pretend everything was normal. But nothing was normal. Their fathers looked away, not because they were ashamed of their children, but because they were ashamed of a system that forced their children to feel like criminals. We, the people, the parents, the elders, the ones who are supposed to protect these kids, we are left with a pain that words cannot fully capture. A pain that settles deep inside the heart. A pain that whispers, if this can happen to our children, then no one's child is safe. We are learning to live with our pain. Pain that should never have been given to us. Pain that should never have been placed on the shoulders of children. Children are meant to dream, not fear. They are meant to learn, not break. They are meant to be guided, not handcuffed. And yet, here we stand, watching the innocence of our young ones being questioned, doubted, and recorded in the archives of crime. This is not just a story of rules. It is a story of a generation losing trust. A story of a system forgetting the difference between correction and cruelty. A story of tears that were never meant to fall. We will remember these 24 hours forever. And these children, with their wounded hearts, will carry this memory into the years ahead. They will smile again, they will grow again, they will live again. But the pain of this injustice will always live quietly inside them.